Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Conversations with Coaches podcast. It is me, your host, once again, Kevin. And once again, I have the absolute pleasure of welcoming a returning guest. You might remember he was on fairly recently, Marshall Stern. Let me reacquaint you in case you forget. He had an episode, I believe, last fall, maybe early winter, and I was just excited to have him back. So Marshall is first and foremost, and I love this, a dedicated husband and father. He values family above all else and places the utmost importance on striking a work-life balance for himself and those he mentors. That's first in the bio for a reason, and I love that. Over the past 35 years, Marshall has built multiple small businesses and learned firsthand the challenges that most small business owners face. He understands the ups and downs of business ownership and combines this intimate knowledge with his approachable coaching philosophy to develop achievable solutions for those he teaches. I love some of the keywords you have there in your bio introduction. That's why I add a little emphasis, because I feel like that's like, you can kind of feel it. It's like, oh, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I need. So I'm really happy to reintroduce you. I'm really happy to have you back on the podcast, and I'm pretty stoked to talk to you again. So thanks for coming on, Marshall.
Awesome. No, thanks, Kevin. It's great to come back. I just love our conversations.
It was really fun. And so a little context. We're recording this here at the dawn of February 2023. I've been recording Fast and Furious in January, so this will probably come out in March. So be aware of that as you're listening. But I mean, most of what we talk about is timeless anyway. At least I like to think I go on a little bit. So sometimes my rambling can feel timeless, if you know what I mean. That's a terrible dad joke, but I'm going to leave it out there anyway. So Marshall, tell me, and I guess we'll start with 2023, January having flown by for both of us. How has your year begun as a coach, personally, for your business? What's new? What's cooking? What's going on so far, and what's coming soon?
No, thank you. That's a great question. Yeah, I cannot. We talked about this earlier. I still cannot believe it is February. It's the older we get, I guess time flies. Time flies when you're having fun. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Age is irrelevant. Time flies when you're having fun, but seriously, and when you're doing what you love, which is what we do. And I know your listeners. This is what we love. We just love conversations. We love talking, meeting people. I love January. Just love it. I'm not sad to see it go, because it's sort of like it's like a birth. It's a rebirth for so many people. I find 2 times a year, like January and September, especially for us as coaches, but for anyone who works in the B2B space. And I've been in that space forever, most of my life. And there's two starting points for business owners: January and September, back to school and a new year. I find January the most interesting because, and many of your listeners probably have gone through this as well. Like, if you have programs, I'm going not really off topic per se, but just sideways for a second.
I love it.
I have a group program twice a year called Create. Right? It's a group coaching program, small group. The first time I think I ran it, or I tried to launch it, was like first week of January. I thought, I'm going to be clever. First week of January, people are going to be just raring to go and whatever. Problem is, first off, people have the sort of post-holiday blues. Then it comes into New Year, and it's like everyone's like, again, September and January, it's a new opportunity, a new hope. I've got goals. I'm fine. I'm going to rock this year. And you see all these things like, make this your best year ever. And I used to be one of those guys. Problem is, because most people are so rare to go January 1st, they might be a little hungover. January 2nd, they're so rare to go that they think they've got it. Wait a couple of weeks. So I just started Create this past week, like January 30th, because it takes a couple of weeks, I find, for people to realize, you know what? Just because it's the turn of a calendar year, nothing's changing for me. Like, nothing changes if nothing changes. So I love January because it gives us as coaches opportunity to really a fresh start for us, but also really make a difference for other people who realize at this point. I don't know what's quit date, January 17th or something, or January 14th, 17th, something around there.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Like for New Year's resolutions, it's for a lot of businesses. It usually lasts a little longer. But anyways, I'm going on. It's been a good month. I just love it because, again, it allows us to step into really serving. And let's face it, December for a lot of coaches I wouldn't say it's a write-off for maybe enrolling new business, but it's not the best month usually.
People are busy. There's a lot going on in everybody's lives. People are trying to wrap things up. People are like, again, and this is one thing that I think that speaks to you and your values as well, is a lot of people are, especially in December, they get a little more family focused for one thing. They're very, very much like they're trying to wrap things up. No pun intended, but I'm gonna let it lie out there. They're trying to wrap things up in December.
That's a dad joke. That was a dad joke.
I do it accidentally. It's what, I am who I am. I can only be me.
Yes.
But they do try to wrap things up, put a bow on things in December. And there's a lot of that urge is hard to slide coaching into that. So it's very much trying to close things out. And then early January, I like kind of how you described it as a birth moment with all the messiness that might entail. It's not like it's not like the new year dawns on January 1st or 2nd or 3rd. The new year dawns in the month of January. And I think that's actually a distinction I've learned to make for myself and for the people I work with and work for, is that January is like kind of a tilling of the soil and the planting of the seeds time, which doesn't all happen in one day. There's a process to it. And so I do find that as January progresses, there's a momentum that builds. Both momentum of declared opportunities and initiatives, but also the opening up of opportunities. People realizing it's like, I want to do this with my life. I've sort of formulated this intention. And then there might be realizations of, but if I do want to actually achieve this, I'm going to need X, Y, and Z. It's like, I want to get in shape, but, I should get a gym membership, or maybe, I should really look into a more specific diet, or it's like, I really want to work on my career this year. It's like, well, it seems like I've kind of looked into some stuff and I tidied up my LinkedIn or whatever happens to be. But, it really seems like I should get a coach for this, because I really do need some guidance for industry specific or something like that. I'm hypothesizing, but these are real thoughts. I feel like your intentions come into focus. And as that focus and clarity begin to manifest themselves, that's very fertile soil for a coach to really dig in and do their work.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's the one thing I do know is, and I've learned this the hard way, not the hard way. There's no real hard, well, there is a hard way, but I think it's funny because in the intro, I don't know who the heck wrote that intro. I must have years ago, because I mentioned I'm all about work-life balance. And that's interesting, because I was kind of laughing inside when you're reading it. I am, but I want to actually give a little context to what I mean by that.
Please.
And as I'm preaching to the choir, I guess, because we're all coaches, but coaches are the worst for work-life balance. Let's face it. Come on, hello, right? Because we're so heart-driven. We just want to serve, that we end up, my wife will say to me, take a break. You got to do this. And I'm all for that for my customers, self-care. Sometimes we forget ourselves, but also I'm all for work-life balance, but not necessarily in one day. Every Monday, I don't expect everyone can have work-life balance. Tuesday, you do what I mean? On a daily basis, it's difficult to have work-life balance. But at the end of the week, maybe at the end of the month, hopefully, definitely at the end of the year, but even hopefully at the end of the month, you could have some balance. But a lot of people think when they hear work-life balance, there's so much pressure, and they start to get down on themselves. But for us as coaches, I think it's really important. You talked about being intentional. It's so important for us to be intentional and actually, Rich Litvin, amazing coach himself, a mentor, and he says, slow down in order to speed up. And I think for us as coaches, we really need to do that, because we get so busy. I'm not sure where I'm going with this. It's kind of a bit of a segue, but we get so busy coaching, we forget to either take time for ourselves and slow down, or slow down and build our business. So we get so busy coaching, we're no longer connecting with new people. We're so busy coaching, we're not connected with ourselves and our people around us. And that's a dangerous game to play, because then at some point you are going to burn out and you're not going to be of service to your clients the way
Mm-hmm.
you can be. So I think it's really important for us to be intentional and have a plan, but then work the plan. Like January 1st comes around, great. What are you going to do this year? Who are you going to connect with? But who are you going to connect? When are you going to connect with yourself and your family? And just take time.
You are speaking right to the bottom of my heart and to the top of my mind. And this is kind of funny. I don't even know if you're subscribed to the our newsletter, my newsletter. I write that once a week, and I just yesterday sent it out, and I wrote it on this very topic. It was based off of an article I'd read earlier in the month called "Permission to Slow Down," and it's from the perspective of someone who had just finished the first draft of their novel, and there was this gap of time between when the final publication was due to go to the printers, and so it was their first draft, so it got passed off to the editor, and there was this like good gap of time there. And there was just this author reflecting on how important those moments are of reflection, and how there are moments where slowing down is speeding up. Where what's the phrase? Slow is smooth and smooth is fast, or slow is steady and steady is fast. It's so funny that you're speaking to that, because I just was in that headspace, and I in fact, due to a fruitful and chock full of excellent quality time with clients and prospects January, super busy with podcast, like so much going on. And again, full but not frantic, very, very full and fulfilling. And I sat with it and was reflecting in myself. I was like, you know what? I'm very busy to start the year. I need to look at my calendar and see when the next good opportunity is for me to take a break. And so I went and I was like, you know what? If you don't do it intentionally, you're not going to do it. You're just going to put your head down. You're going to wait for the opportunity to present itself, and it won't, because you're just going to keep your head down and keep working. And so I looked at my calendar. I saw a couple of days where it's like, you know what? I don't have any prospect meetings. I don't have any client meetings. I have a lot of work that I can get done before that. I can kind of cash some things prior. And I was like, you know what? Blocking it off the calendar. And I went ahead and I blocked it off on my calendar. I let everybody know on my team. I was just like, hey, you know what? I'm going to take these couple of days off, have a 4-day weekend coming up later on in February, because it was just like, it was the smallest thing, relatively speaking. I was just like, I just decided to take some time off without waiting for the burnout. Like I could smell the smoke. It's just like the faintest odor of smoke on the air. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be proactive about this. I'm going to be intentional about this. And it felt so good to do it. And it was so hard. It was so hard for me to choose to do it, but it was really easy to do once I decided. You know the difference? It was hard for me to make that decision. It was like pulling teeth. But then once I had made the decision to find some time, finding time wasn't that hard.
This is what we preach to our clients.
It really is.
Right. And that's the ironic part of it. We get, like I said earlier, we get so caught up serving and making a difference and helping our clients, whether it's in business or in life, whether it's health or career. A lot of the times we forget about ourselves. We forget to actually drink our own Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'll listen back to a workshop I've done or some of my group programs, and I'll go, wow, that was really good. Like I said that. Right. Yes. Okay. And yeah, it's amazing. It's really, I think we just have to be, the big thing is we have to be intentional. We have to be intentional as to what we want, why we want it, where we want to go, why we want to go there. It's like the why behind the why. And that's what we do for our clients. We help them uncover their why behind their why, really. And that's what we need to do for ourselves. And I mean, it's not easy to coach ourselves, but if we just listen to what we're saying to other people, slow down, and in order to speed up, for sure.
And to also, it helps to realize, to really sit with, I'm doing this. This is an act of service, not to the people I want to serve. It's like, if I neglect myself, I will eventually show up weaker and weaker and more inconsistently, with less to bring to the table, with less to offer to the people I want to serve. And so you don't even have to it is self-care, but it's not selfish. It actually, it is in the circle of service. And it's just it's a manner of thinking and a manner of feeling that I periodically have to remind myself of, because it's just very easy to let it slip my mind. But once I realized that's how I could do it without getting trapped in this cycle of hard workism and grindism, I could just realize that taking care of myself is an act of service to the people I wish to help the most. If I neglect myself, I'm neglecting them too.
Yeah.
It's just that it's going to take longer to hit them than it's going to take to hit me, but it's going to start hitting them, and they're going to not get my best because I won't have it to offer, and that's on me. And so that's kind of a way that I was able to sort of trick myself into being better at the gestures of self-care that I require, taking time for myself and making sure that I'm whole and hearty and ready.
Yeah. And it's a matter of, again, the awareness, because it's the oxygen mask analogy, right? I mean, we're always told to put the mask on ourselves before we put it on, a child that we're with, or a senior. Put it on ourselves, take care of ourselves first so we can take care of the rest, take care of others. And we just, because we get so caught up in that serving, and because we love it so much, it's not work for us, right? It's play, it's fun, it's our passion that we can every day. I have to practice it every day. I have to make sure, whether it's meditating or just being still. I do it before every client session. I do it after, when I'm finished every session. But just throughout the day at different times. Otherwise, you're gonna lose it. You really are gonna lose it. You're gonna burn out, and then you're not gonna be able to serve the people. Not easy.
Nope.
No one said it, but no one said it would be.
Nope.
Right.
And if somebody did, what were they selling you?
Yeah. Well, exactly. And also, having saying all that, like, I think also a key with coaching, growing a coaching business, is coaching. Yes, you have to be really good at what you do, and you have to you're going to serve clients and help with transformation and all that kind of good stuff that we do. But you have to also take a break from that, and you have to be intentional on connecting with people. Because if we're just coaching, and I've fallen into this trap before, and some of your listeners, I'm sure, might be there right now. It's like, oh, I'm booked solid. Like, I can't take anyone else on, or I just love it. I'm just coaching. Well, those contracts or those, programs end, and you haven't been connecting with anyone. Then all of a sudden, my calendar's completely free. So it's a matter of, I think, loving what you do what you love. Every day, try to connect with someone. And it might not even be connecting, like, I'm not saying cold calling, I'm saying just connect people together.
Yeah.
Well, touch base with someone, say, hey, how are things? Or, hey, here's an article, or I thought you might be interested in.
I love those little moments of sharing. There's no obligation attached. It's just a moment of sharing where it's like, I like this. I love that kind too, because I'll message people just an URL where it's like, I really like this, think you will too. And that's it. No question, no response. It's just like, and it's just that act of giving, that little act of service. It's freeing while also being bridge building and connecting. And I love that.
It's about connect. Yeah. And you have to really buy into it, because if you're, I heard this last week. So, the whole, people might be in BNI. There might be a lot of coaches that are in BNI here. And I'm not knocking BNI as a networking organization. They're a great organization for the right people, but their motto is what? Givers gain. So the whole idea is you give referrals in order to gain back, right? And it can work for some people. Someone said in my circle the other day, they said their motto for the year, or I saw her on another podcast. She said her motto for the year is give to give to give to ask. And I thought about that. She said, because when you give to gain, you're giving for the sole purpose, expecting something to come back. Right? But when you're giving from your heart, okay, for the purpose of giving, and then at some point for the opportunity, the permission to be able to ask, not necessarily for the sale, maybe ask to be able to connect them with someone else, right? I think it really you look at things differently. And it's not about giving to expect something. It's about giving to build trust. So the whole know, like, and trusting, right? Build a connection to be able to, and again, like the follow-ups, right? I don't know if you're familiar with like Steve Chandler, another amazing coach, right? And he says, don't just be sending these messages, Facebook messages or emails, after a proposal. You send a proposal to a client, and he does it great the way in his voice. He goes, don't just send a message saying, hey, just checking in. Like, are you going to hire me? Just checking in. Hey, how's it going? Are you did you get my email? Did you get my proposal? Are you going to hire me? That's where it's powerful to just sort of top of mind, not every day. Send an interesting article. If it's their birthday, send them something for their birthday or wish them a happy birthday. Hey, thinking of you, saw this, thought you might be interested in it. Or, hey, I want to connect you with this person. And that's it.
Yeah. There's a difference between, it can be a subtle distinction, but for me, it means the world, because there's that giving to gain, like almost like it's an exchange, like a commodity. There's that. And there's giving with an understanding that there's gain to be had, but that's not something you're not concerned with it. You give in and of itself, and you understand the mechanism of giving, how giving tends to work in the world, and you trust it, and so you give to give. I really do. It's hard to speak to better than you've already spoken to it, but it's a concept, and I feel like it's such an important distinction to keep you from just becoming like a gift merchant, as opposed to just a participator, a connector, a member.
Well, yeah. Let's face it. We're all coaches. We all want to build our practice, or I hate the term practice. I can't believe I just said practice. Forget that. Scrap that. Edit that, Kevin. Edit that. We all want to, because it's not a practice. It's a business. We all want to build our business, right? So we're not just like, unless we're have enough money that we don't ever have to work another day in our life. We're coaches. We need to charge for it. Obviously, we need to charge for our services. Also for the client to get the most out of it, which is a whole other conversation.
Oh yeah.
we all know that. But also, or having saying that, if we had all the money in the world, and then we're philanthropists. If we're just giving, we're just fine. Nonprofit organization. Okay, and that's great if you can do that. That's absolutely great, beautiful, kumbaya. It's awesome you can do that. Most of us, it's a business, and with the business, you want to build your business, more clients, more transformations, bigger change in the world, all that kind of stuff. So we are giving with an intention. Now, we feel good about it. You have to feel good about it. But we're giving our time, we're giving our knowledge and that's what I liked about the give to ask. We're giving it with the intention that one day down the road, we are going to ask them for help, and not help in like work with me, but help maybe, hey, do you have 5 minutes? I'm thinking of doing a program. I want to just pick your brain on what you might think would work. Hey, I have someone who I'd love you to connect you with, or I can connect them with you, or whatever. Or hey, can I ask you this? Hey, that kind of thing. Hey, I have a workshop coming up. It's free, or it's $100. Do you want to come? Right.
Yeah.
But if we're just connecting with the intention of waiting for things to come back, then we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting. Right. And in the end, we're all coaches. We all need to move. We all help our clients move the needle in one part of their life, or multiple parts of their lives. And I think we need to do that for ourselves too.
I'm loving this conversation so much. I just looked up at the Zoom clock, and we're already past 30 minutes. And honestly, this has the same feeling as January, as we discussed, where it's like it's flown by because of like contentful and great fun, but also it's supposed to be a short podcast. So I should probably get you out of here. But before I do, I hit record, you did mention that you've got something cool coming up in, I believe you said April. And this podcast episode, though it's recorded in early February, will probably come out more like March, but still well enough in time. I know it's hard to, like, when you're listening to this, whenever it finds you. I want to make sure that you talk a little bit about this thing you've got coming up, so that as people listen, they can reach out and find out more. So tell me,
Yeah.
what's coming in April?
Well, okay, so yeah, in April, I'm still working out the details of it. So reach out to me, but it's a 6 month to 1 year program. It's going to be an amazing program, combination of mastermind, group coaching, training, all sorts of things. But so more on that. This is coming out in March. I know what's happening when this is coming in real time, but right now I'm just working on the details. I'm actually talking to a lot of my clients about what would work for them. So it's going to be a really good program. But the other thing is just, if you, even just for your own business, just jump into, if you're still into Facebook, if you're in the Facebook world, the Business Inner Circle, which is our Facebook community.
That's right.
It's the Business Inner Circle, and introduce yourself in there, jump in there, connect with people. It's people all over, really all over the world, primarily North America, but there are people all over the world. And it's just, there's some trainings in there. It's just a great place to connect with other entrepreneurs, and ask them questions that might help your business.
Excellent. And you're still, is it, I might be misremembering this. Is this marshallstern.net? Am I remembering that correctly? You have a website that's like your name, but not quite, it's not a .com, right?
No, .com. That's some comedian in Chicago who has .com, and he won't give it up to me. So it's marshallstern.net, or okay, at Marshall Stern on LinkedIn or Insta, not TikTok. I don't do TikTok.
Not yet.
Maybe next time
we won't have to worry about it.
maybe the third time around we'll chat. We'll see.
Sounds good. All right, I'll make sure there's links to everything in the show notes. Awesome. And yeah, like I said, what we're talking about, I could talk about with you for hours, because I feel like this is such meaty, important conversations to be had, shining an important light on the nature of giving and exchange and service and asking and self-care. Like, these are all just like you're speaking to my heart. Definitely. But again, I'll have to have you back on maybe in April, and maybe in May, maybe in June, and we can talk about how things are going and what's coming up next then. So awesome. Yeah, expect me to be bothering you to come back on because awesome. I love our conversations and where they go. I think it's important too for people to be able to listen in and kind of get a little bit of an understanding of what a conversation like this might be like when they hire a coach, maybe when they hire you. I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there, audience, if you're listening. So thank you, Marshall, for coming on again today. I liked it.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
And yeah, here on the podcast, obviously you can find out all you need to find out about Marshall by going to the links in the show notes. Check out the Facebook group. I know it's Facebook. It's still a good group. Check it out. It's worthwhile. And we will get the opportunity to talk to you again here very soon.